Shalom and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Today we're looking at Numbers chapter 29. There are 40 verses. Beginning in verse 1, we see here, it shall be to you a day of blowing the trumpets versus it is a day of blowing the trumpets unto you. So the difference there is it is a clear command from Yah that he's saying it shall be this day to you. Not that it is, it just happens to be. No, it shall be, I'm making it so. Verse 4, for each several ram versus for one lamb. So it sounds like this 10th deal of flour with oil is evenly distributed for each several ram, not just one lamb. Moving on to verse 6, for the new moon verses of the month. So we can see it's not an offering just for, a generalized month, like a vague concept of this is the one for the whole month. No, this is for a specific time, specific period of time, one day. It's the new moon day, the first day of the month. Moving on, it says ordinance in the same verse, according to their ordinance versus manner. Verse 10, a 10th deal for each several lamb. So similar difference as we saw in the previous verse, verse 4. Verse 15, we have an addition. It says here, several. A several 10th deal. Verse 17, blemish. Without blemish. So what this means, I think I've explained this before, but I'm going to just remind you. A blemish means a handicap, an abnormality. It is not actual spots. Like if you have a creature and has freckles or spots, that's not a blemish. A blemish is when it's handicapped or it is abnormal and it just is not functionally normal. It's deformed is one way to put it. That's one category of many under the blemish umbrella. But you also have handicaps where it was born normal, but then out of circumstances which may have happened, it is now handicapped. It might have been blinded or injured. So that's a blemish as well. Verse 22, a continuous difference. We notice here it says a kid of the goats. Continual omission, I should say. So this is not just a regular goat of any age. This is specifically a kid of the goats, a young goat. Verse 26, another continual difference. It says of a year old. This is important because it's describing not just a lamb that has been born and it's from the time of birth to a year completed. No, this is 1 year has elapsed. This is a year has elapsed and this lamb is past a year old versus of the first year. So before the year elapsed. So you're giving this lamb time to live. You're not just killing it in the first, month or within the first 12 months. You're giving them time to exist. And when it reaches the point of maturity, which is a year old, that's when it is then sacrificed, if it is chosen, that is. Verse 35, we have 2 more verses to look at. So this is a short video. Verse 35 says, on the 8th day, and on the 8th day, there shall be to you a release. This could mean a Sabbath, could mean a pause, a rest. Versus the Masoretic saying, you shall have a solemn assembly. So it seems to have inserted completely different understanding. A release is a break. It is a Sabbath. It is freedom. But an assembly is not the same thing, because the next verse makes no sense. You shall do no servile work as it relates to assembly. But a release means you're released from your burden. You will do no servile work in it. Could be possibly rendered a Sabbath. Just speculating there, but it could be a Sabbath. On the 8th day, there shall be to you a Sabbath. Because if you look at the context, this is talking about a specific time period. I believe it is one of the feast days. If we look at the month, we can see, we just rewind back here, on the 7th month. So it's Sukkot. It is the Feast of Tabernacles. And on the 8th day of the feast, that's a Sabbath day. That's a high holy day. And it is, to be fair, it is set apart. It is a time where you should congregate, you should meet, a time of assembly. I'm not saying that it isn't, but I'm just pointing out that in the original, in the Septuagint, it does not say that it is an assembly in this specific verse. In other places, it does say, yes, this is a set apart, a holy convocation. Just not in this verse. It says it's a release, or it may be a Sabbath. The last verse we're looking at is verse 39. It says, these sacrifices shall you offer to Yah, versus these things you shall do. Okay, so I think here's a clear distinction between just doing something, which is vague in and of itself, versus sacrifices being offered. That's a whole other ballgame. So, there's one more difference. There's an addition here. It says set feasts. It says in your set feasts versus in your feasts. I'm not sure. They just added the word set. That can be understood many ways. Perhaps they're just fixed. However, I wouldn't say they're fixed, because the feast can be on different days in the year, depending on when the moon is sighted. It could vary. For instance, if you're looking at the Feast of Trumpets, which is a day no one can predict because it is on a new moon, I wouldn't say that's completely set in stone, but it's only set in the way that you know what you're looking for. But it isn't something where you can just mark in the calendar and say this is going to be the day, and then when the day comes, you didn't sight the moon, so you can't declare it the day of trumpets, the Feast of Trumpets. So that's all I have to talk. That's all I have to present to you on this chapter, Numbers chapter 29. Thank you very much for your time. May God bless you and make your way prosperous. You've been watching Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Shalom and peace be unto you.